you're still staying in? Good. Remember, there's 116 episodes of The Hard Sell, including this one, and some of them are even quite good. So that could keep you going. Or you could just sit around and watch old adverts all day until you find yourself actively wishing it was the 1980s again. Even though the main difference between then and now was that the pandemic then was sexier. I don't know, maybe it did suck marginally less in, let's say, 1987. What the fuck was going on?
Don't take five, take what you want to say. Don't take five, take what you want to say. Don't take five, take what you want to say. Don't take five, take what you want.
HIV/AIDS had just gone pandemic, but at least it wasn't forcing the entire world and its economy into quarantine. We had an unstoppable Tory government with no end in sight and an opposition still trying to rebuild itself, which, well, snap. The United States president was a senile prick, but not a psychopath or a complete imbecile. Well, right, he was that as well, but compared with today, we didn't know we were fucking born. And the upcoming Democratic challenger to take over from him was a much better prospect than the one we have now. Yes, I'm afraid so. As for music, well, let's just compare today's number one with the one from the same week that year. I call that a score draw. Perhaps things really have got so bad that it was actually better in 1987. Well, let's find out with
Have a Break.
This is from early October of that year. I've just started school, my sister is about 8 inches long and screams a lot, and we still don't have a car. But never mind me down in TSW land, what was going down all the way at the other end of England, in the arguably even smaller time border television region? Well, Raiders of the Lost Ark is on, a major blockbuster, so no problem selling airtime here for probably the second tiniest company in the network. Here come adverts.
Fashion, fitness, cookery, gossip.
Violence, religion, injustice, and death.
No. Bella.
The new women's weekly, Bella.
The 1980s represented something of a watershed for the lady-type magazine. The almost aggressive atmosphere the decade produced, of acquisition, aspiration and self-obsession, was fertile ground for the genre, but it was also the beginning of the end for the old Family Circle format. My mother used to buy Family Circle in the late 80s, and tiny 4 to 8-year-old me used to read it after her. Well, look at it. Mostly for the adverts, because this programme was basically my destiny right from the start. But I couldn't help but absorb the basic tone and subject matter of the magazine itself as well, even if, thank God, I didn't actually understand most of it. Probably why I'm such a big girl now. Anyway, I didn't give you all that information entirely to punish you, but because... Actually, why the fuck did I tell you all of that? Jesus Christ. Tell you what, let's put it down to cabin fever and move on. The point is, Family Circle was the standard going into the 80s, but less so coming out of them. It still had knitting patterns, for God's sake. The typical Family Circle format consisted of recipes, with a heavy bias toward the low-fat slimming end of the market, arts and crafts, kids saying the darndest things, CNA-level fashions, real-life sob stories, a big wodge of middle-class hypochondria, and lots of dainty adverts for thrush medicines and the like. There was the occasional chaste and euphemistic article about sexual matters, but mostly it was wool and polyunsaturates. The launch of Bella here, a weekly in the Family Circle mould, comes right at that moment when the likes of Marie Claire and Cosmopolitan caused a paradigm shift that killed off the old format completely. Both titles had of course been around for a while, although Marie Claire as we know it today only technically launched in the UK in 1988. But in the Thatcher-Reagan era, their time had truly come. Where Family Circle catered to women as they actually were, these sophisticated and glossy upstarts seduced them with what they wanted to be. Family Circle had attainable fashions from CNA and Topshop. Marie and Cosmo were all about Dior and Chanel. You'll never wear them, but you can coo at the photographs. Family Circle's original audience soon vanished. Before long, so did the magazine itself. Bella, however, has survived to this day, along with a handful of others, and there are two ways for a middle-class women's magazine to do that. Give up and embrace the new era, or abandon the middle class altogether and fill yourself up with celebrity gossip and real-life horror, like a sea cucumber desperately latching itself onto the lowest possible common denominator. And before we move on, I'd like to apologise for using the term paradigm shift earlier on. It is a hideous term, but it is also perfectly cromulent in the proper context.
The new Women's Weekly, Bella. He's got whatever you want.
Whatever you want. You got that glowing feeling. Real fires give you that glowing feeling.
Glow on, spoil yourself with the unique warmth and coziness of a real living fire.
Well, this is oddly moribund, particularly for an ostensibly positive advert. As if everyone who made it was monumentally depressed and practically gave up from the start. But then again, it is an advert for British Coal in 1987, so I can't really blame them. Barely kinetic typography and perhaps the most half-assed riff on a song imaginable. Might as well adopt "a dying industry" as their official slogan. Before long, Real Fires would hire Tony Kaye to produce that heartwarming and iconic bestial three-way, which kept the brand going through the final slow death rattle of coal mining in this country, which is nice.
Glow for it. Dial free phone 100 and ask for Real Fires now.
Live in style with Kitchens by Poggenpole.
Surprisingly, that sentence contains only actual words. Yes, it's a local hero time. Live in Style would appear to be a furnishing shop in Carlisle. Or at least it was in 1987. Apparently it's long since dead. As for Poggenpole, well, they actually turn out to be some kind of German super brand who make just the best kitchens in the world, you guys. At least as far as Live in Style are concerned, judging by the ecstatic gushing voiceover and his script, which amounts to a detailed written love letter to the brand.
Words can hardly express their beauty, their matchless quality and value.
Supposedly they're the oldest kitchen brand in the known universe. Probably invented the cooker hood or something. Who knows, just buy one, or whatever.
Kitchens by Poggenpole from Live in Style, Lord Street, St Nicholas, Carlisle.
Everyone knows how vulnerable car radio aerials can be.
Don't we all love to boogie down to some library music at a car wash from time to time? Yeah, I didn't think so either.
But do you know who's building damage-proof aerials into the rear windows of many of their latest cars?
Apparently Ford to the rescue. They're leading the way in putting in newfangled things like central locking and rear wipers as standard, even for the twatty proletarian models, like your basic Fiestas and Sierras.
Increasingly, the same people are now making central locking standard, and not just on luxury models. They're also fitting more of their cars with rear wash wipers.
And the really good ones, driven by the likes of the Young Valeyard Chronicles here, get things like cruise control and sunroofs and a pony.
And you'll even find that cruise control is standard on their smartest models. Ford.
Look out for the new models of Escort and Orion and Granada with X's all over their names so you know they're futuristic.
Not only are they adding more equipment to their cars without adding more to their prices, but they're also introducing a well-equipped new Escort LX, Orion LX, and this new Granada Gear X.
The future!
Ford make cars with a future.
I love to test my racing skills on weekends.
While thinking in a trained and modulated low tenor voice that's clearly not my own, because I'm the archetype of a successful man in 1987 apparently. Aspire to be me. Chew this gum.
At the starting line, concentration is a must. That's where you run out of time and space to maneuver. Chewing gum helps me concentrate, which is why I sail with Wrigley's Spearmint. Keeps me alert and on top of things, and it gives me a clean, refreshing taste.
From this historical distance, this doesn't have anything like the impact it was intended to have, and probably did at the time. A modern-day viewer is used to gum adverts being full of peppy boosterism, with a pop soundtrack and beautiful people kissing each other beneath honey-coloured skies. And that was far from unknown in the 80s, believe me. But there's more than one way to skin a demographic, or more than one demographic to skin. And here, Wrigley's are going for the parents of those sunny teens, who are, or more likely want to be, rich, leisured and sophisticated, which in the mid-80s means yachts, and lots of them. And because it also happens to be the most competitive decade in the history of mankind, the single best and coolest thing you can do with that yacht is to race it. Assuming you don't lose like a loser. These days this all looks just kind of dull. The central character just comes across like an unusually handsome and lantern-jawed spod, putting on this sophisticated voice in his head to make up for his real one, which probably sounds more like this. At the starting line, concentration is a must. That is when you run out of time and space to manoeuvre. And because this is the advertising equivalent of FM radio adult-oriented rock, right down to the yachts, you need a straight-faced but vague sciencey justification. Like, it helps you concentrate. This claim's unfounded. The Wrigley Company accepts no liability for any boating accidents.
To get a good start like this one, I count on Wrigley's Spearmint to help me concentrate.
The new Creda Concept Solar Plus, a ceramic hob featuring 2 halogen heating areas, low-profile controls with advanced display, 2 versatile ovens, conventional and circular fan, and the Solar Plus grill, which heats up faster than any other grill.
Nice simple advert here, just a floppy-haired man explaining the product directly to camera. And the straightforwardness is refreshing, but I kept being distracted by how he keeps flapping his arms about. I couldn't help worrying that he was going to accidentally flail onto the grill or a hot plate and burn himself.
To show you how fast, here's something I prepared earlier.
Now, I don't doubt this basic premise, that the bread he puts in at the start could become golden brown delicious toast by the end of his spiel a mere 30 seconds later. I believe that is something the oven is capable of. Yes, Virginia. But I do have my doubts about them literally having done so for the sake of this advert. How is it done on both sides? How is it done on both sides? Shenanigans!
Incredible. No, Creda.
Dear, dear. Oh, fuck off. So yeah, we've got some deers wandering about the woods, hoping they haven't been spotted by Arthur Morgan in hunting mode. None of them are flashing yellow, fortunately. Meanwhile, the backing track mutters the product's name in echo, because that's cool, I guess. One way is subliminally reinforcing your product's name.
There is a taste only a tracker can take you to.
They are indeed being followed, but not by Arthur, by Brian Ferry, apparently. May I stand unshaken amidst the clash of worlds? Fortunately for the deer, these people only want to shoot them with cameras.
Made chewy with moist caramel, topped with roasted nuts or chocolate chips.
Tracker bars were, and indeed still are, Mars's compromise for people too health conscious for a Mars bar. They're quite tasty, and apparently in 1987 they were new. They haven't really changed their target audience ever since. Rugged, outdoorsy, the kind of people who think sleeping in tents is a worthwhile thing to do.
New tracker, the great taste, comes naturally.
It's Technics Week at McCulloch's.
Finally, another local advert, just in case you'd forgotten that we're in the border region. That belt made up of the very top bits of England and the very bottom bits of Scotland. Actually, it's more like a necktie, with Cumbria as the long scarfy bit. Anyway, let's all go to Workington, where it's Technics Week at McCulloch's. And to prove it, they've taken a still photo of all the Technics products they could find sitting behind a big cardboard logo.
Special prize draw and late opening until 8 p.m. this Friday and next. Don't miss Technics Week at McCulloch's, Workington.
Don't miss it, especially if you're some kind of nightmarish unshaven caricature of Rowan Atkinson. Yeah, that must be Workington Man, the key demographic the Tories used to win the election. Bastard. 1987. What the fuck was going on? Well, a last hurrah for an older and distinctly 80s idea of sophistication, for one. Women were migrating from family circle housewifely coziness to pseudo-empowered post-feminist consumers, while the Howard's Way yachting aesthetic arguably peaked here with a chewing gum advert. For Black Monday ran everyone aground again shortly after this break was broadcast. God knows what will be considered aspirational a few years after this pandemic. Owning 3 blue rocks, probably.
The fishing boats go out across the evening water, smuggling guns and arms across the Spanish border. The wind whips up the waves so loud, the ghost moon sails among the clouds, turns the rifles into silver on the border. On the border, on the border, on the border.
You've been watching a Bob the Fish production. Thanks! If you haven't found it already, be sure to check out our website at bobthefish.org.uk. Literally hundreds of videos not unlike this one that will make you laugh, think and realise new things, or your money back. Which works out great because they're all absolutely free. All of this is possible thanks to the not unique way that Bob the Fish productions are paid for by you, the viewing public, via Patreon. For a donation of as little as £1 a month, not only do you ensure that I still have food and shelter so I can carry on making these programmes, but you could become eligible for a whole host of cool extras. New video essays, special event live streams, all my content a week in advance, and my book on the history of the BBC Rule the Waves, chapter by chapter as it's written. And some cake, if you go out and buy a cake and eat it while you're watching. And if you don't want to support on a monthly basis, you can make a one-off donation via Coffee. It all helps stave off scurvy. bobthefish.org.uk. You make it what it is.